Today we're going to be talking again about sine, cosine, and tangent ratios. So we are just going to recap what we learned in our previous lesson about the sine, cos, and tangent ratios. So they are ways of finding missing sides and missing angles in a right angle triangle. And so far we've only used them for finding missing sides. Next week we will learn how to do missing angles. So when you're doing sine, cos, and tangent ratios, it has to be a right angle triangle. And if it's not a right angle triangle, you're going to have to come up with something else to do. So first thing you need to do is label all of your sides. The one across from the right angle, the longest side in that triangle, is our hypotenuse. Now the other two sides depend on the angle in the question. So if this is the angle that I was given, the one across from the angle is called the opposite because it is opposite to the angle. And our third side is called the adjacent, which means beside, because it is beside the angle. So sine, cosine, and tangent are just ratios of different combinations of sides. And we did talk yesterday about the word that I like to use to help me remember, which is SOHCAHTOA. Now SOHCAHTOA only works if you know how to spell it. So it's SOHCAHTOA. And what it tells me is sine of an angle is O, opposite. I'm going to be a little lazy and not write out the full word here, over H, hypotenuse. Cosine is A, adjacent, divided by H, hypotenuse. And then tan is O, opposite, divided by A, adjacent. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tan is opposite over adjacent. So we're going to try our first question, which says solve for x in each of the following triangles, and it asks you on the handout anyways to round your final answers to 2 decimal places. So we're going to start with this triangle. It has an angle of 40 degrees, a side length of 15 meters, and an unknown angle, side, x. So first thing you should always do when you're doing one of these questions is you should label your sides. So I'm going to start by finding that 90 degrees, going straight across to the longest side. That is my hypotenuse. Find that angle, which is right here. It's 40 degrees. Directly across from that is my opposite. And then that third side is the adjacent. Now what you want to do is take a look at the 3 sides and ask yourself, which one do I not know anything about? And the one that we don't know anything about that doesn't have any markings at all is the adjacent. So I'm going to cross that one out, which means we are going to be using the opposite and the hypotenuse. So if I'm using opposite and hypotenuse, I'm looking for the ratio that uses O and H. So O and H would be sine. So I'm going to do the sine of angle A equals opposite over hypotenuse. Right? It was OH. Then all I have to do is sub my numbers in. So I get the angle is 40. So sine of 40 equals opposite, that's 15, over hypotenuse, which is x. Now this question is a little different from the one yesterday because today the x is in the denominator, and yesterday when we did the questions the x was in the numerator. So we're still going to follow the same steps. I am still going to write sine of 40 over its secret denominator of 1, and then I am going to cross multiply. So x times sine of 40 is x times sine of 40. And 1 times 15 is 15. Now, what's different here from yesterday is yesterday all of the numbers were on one side and we could just calculate. But right now, these are not all, the numbers aren't all on one side. This is a mix of numbers and x. So my goal is to get x by itself. So we're going to try to take that sine of 40 to the other side by dividing both sides by sine of 40. Got a little extra step in this question. So I get x equals 15 divided by sine 40. So that's a little extra step from yesterday. Yesterday we just had to multiply and we were done. Here we had to cross multiply and then divide the sine to the other side. So it took us 2 steps to get that rearranged. So I'm going to do 15 divided by sine of 40. So if you have a calculator, when you press your sine button, the word sine actually shows up. You just have to do 15 divided by sine 40 equals. But on my calculator, when I press sine, the word sine does not show up. So I am first just going to quickly check, am I in degrees? Yes, I am. So I'm going to do 15 divided by, and then I have to do 40 sine equals. So I've got 23.33, and then the next number is a 5, which means that's going to push this up to a 3, 4. So it's going to be 23.34. So x equals 23.34 meters. Okay, you can join me in the next video for the next example.